infrastructure like human development, health and education, housing and township, which would benefit out of the creation of the industrial corridor. So if we look at the road construction sector, now that itself is going to be the first starting point on which the whole corridor would be established. I think the road and the rail connectivity would be the starting point. The airport connectivity is already at a pretty good level as of now. Bangalore International Airport has just got expanded and able to cater now to 20 million passengers plus. So that's going to be an advantage. Chennai has also got modernized. A lot of regional airports are considered along the state, which have not seen the light of day. Some have started, like in Gulbarga and Shimoga, but they have not really seen the light of day. But as and when these activities pick up, I think these connectivity issues would slowly start getting sorted out, and a lot of private participation is required for that. I think the critical part for the government would also be to see how to set up a structure in which the private participation is encouraged, because that would be critical for growing the corridor and growing the enterprise around the corridor. We have definitely issues in terms of non-connectivity infrastructure like power and water. Both of them are issues for Karnataka as well as for Tamil Nadu. I think those issues need to get sorted out. We understand the power issue is slowly getting sorted out in Tamil Nadu. 2012, 13, and even to some extent 13, 14 was a very bad year. But I think promise has been made for continuous power in Tamil Nadu from 1st June. We look forward to that kind of a situation where power will ease itself, and renewable energy resources are also being given incentives. So hopefully if we can correct on the power front and set up adequate supply of water, I think that would be important initiatives for the government to look at further growing the activity around the economic corridor. Karnataka has its own hub of auto belt, where we have seen activity along not only Bangalore, but even Belgaum and Hubli have got auto ancillaries. That itself would need to get a spur as the corridor grows, and there is very important potential of human resources, which is available in the state. It just needs some incentives in terms of adequate employment opportunities, adequate job creation, and I think the corridor could help in creation of that. This is some international experience where Thailand has benefited quite significantly out of such corridors. And even if you see Japan, 3 cities, Tokaido Industrial Corridor, which connected Tokyo, Osaka, and Nagoya, I think there has been a significant advantage arising out of that. But if you see, these all started almost 50 years back. So we are to that extent lagging on a time frame, and I'm sure the government would look at that and consider starting this initiative on a fast track so that things can move at a faster pace now. Net, I think connecting Chennai and Bangalore through this corridor would develop the entire infrastructure around this region, and we are very, very hopeful that this is something which would be taken up on a fast track mode. And the only way which we see forward is the PPP in terms of attracting more and more private participation into this, and PPP mode, already there are incentives in terms of bringing the private participation into it, and the private players, if they see commercial gains and if they see that this is ensured and there is something which is, they would definitely look at with interest in investing in areas around the corridor. So I think PPP mode is something which can be looked at by the government for enhancing all the investments which we plan around the corridor. And certainly as we go forward, I think more and more private participation would help to ensure the growth of this corridor all along the route from Chennai up to Bangalore and beyond. So we look forward to a stronger policy environment, faster track movement on the corridor, and also seeing that how an environment is created for attracting more and more foreign investment as well as domestic investments into the areas around the corridor. And once the infrastructure is created, I am sure that investment would come in due course of time and lead to its own benefits. So this is what we wanted to say. We wish that the whole corridor activity starts on a faster track now with the new government, and let's hope for the best in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jayanta, for setting the tone for today's seminar. May I now welcome all the distinguished guests in the dais once again, and I request our President, Mr. H.V. Harish, to hand over the bouquet to Mr. V.P. Baliga, IAS Chairman and Managing Director of KSIIDC. May I now request Mr. A.N. Chandramouli, Senior Vice President, to hand over the bouquet to Mr. Ian Felton, Deputy High Commissioner, British Deputy High Commissioner. May I request Mr. Anush Sharma, Vice President, to hand over the bouquet to Mr. Yamamoto, Counselor and Council, Embassy of Japan. May I also welcome on my behalf Mr. Jayanta Chatterjee as well. May I now request our Vice President, Mr. Anush Sharma, to introduce the distinguished to the gathering. Mr. Anush Sharma, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to introduce the dignitaries on the dais today. Let me start with Mr. Nobuaki Yamamoto, Counselor and Council, Embassy of Japan in India, Head of Consulate, Bangalore. Mr. Yamamoto has graduated from Osaka University of Foreign Studies in Japan. He also studied in international politics at University of Leiden, the Netherlands, and has also rich interest in the Dutch language. After entering the diplomatic services of Japan, he was posted in embassies of Japan in various countries like Netherlands, Indonesia, Zimbabwe, and also at the Consulate General of Detroit, US, and Toronto, Canada. He was also a diplomatic member of the delegation of Japan to the Conference on Disarmament, Geneva in Switzerland. He has been the diplomatic rank of, he has the diplomatic rank of counselor. He is currently Council and Head Consulate of Japan at Bangalore since 2012. And I thank you for accepting the request from BCIC to participate in today's seminar and share his views. Mr. Ian Felton, Deputy High Commissioner, British Deputy High Commission in Bangalore. Mr. Felton joined Bangalore as the British Deputy High Commissioner in 2011 and is very keen to enhance the trade between UK and India through investments, through partnerships in science and innovation as well. And he is very willing to organize business visits related to science and technology, and also ministerial level visits. Mr. Ian Felton enjoys traveling around Karnataka to understand the state and also to promote the trade between UK and India. Mr. Ian is career diplomat and prior to Bangalore served as the British ambassador in the Republic of Guinea in West Africa, where he worked on promoting trade for British mining and energy companies. His previous postings include Cambodia, New York, Brussels, and he has been extensively traveling and has held various assignments throughout the Southeast Asia. Welcome, Mr. Ian Felton. Mr. V.P. Baligar, although he doesn't need much introduction, I'm sure most of the people here must have dealt with him in past while setting up the industries. So Mr. V.P. Baligar, he is the Chairman and Managing Director, Karnataka State Industrial and Infrastructure Development Corporation Limited. He is a BTech in Civil Engineering from Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur, Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, and MBA from Southern Cross University, Australia. Mr. Baligar joined the Indian Administrative Services in 1980. He has vast experience of working with the central government, state government, and various corporate bodies. He was the Chairman and Managing Director of Housing and Urban Development Corporation Limited, Government of India, for about 3 years before joining KSIIDC. He is currently the chairman and managing director, KSIIDC, since April 2014. Thank you, Mr. Baligar, for joining us today. May I now request Mr. Yamamoto to say a few words and share his thoughts.
Namaskara to each one of you. Thank you. Mr. Harish, Mr. Felton, and Mr. Baligar, dignitaries on the dais, and ladies and gentlemen. Before speaking about today's topic, I would like to take this opportunity to explain a bit about relations between India and Japan. In the year 2006, India-Japan had decided to establish a strategic and global partnership. This partnership aimed at promoting long-term comprehensive cooperation in different fields of strategic relevance, such as political security, defense, trade, industry, and infrastructure. Both countries are fostering the strategic partnership not only in the bilateral area, but also on the international stage. In February 2011, India and Japan have signed the CEPA, Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement. As one of the major concrete outcomes of this strategic partnership. This agreement was the cornerstone for our two countries' economy, since it meant to promote the facilitation of trade and investment between our two countries. In 2012, India-Japan celebrated the 60th anniversary of official diplomatic relation, which was established after the World War II. Many celebratory events were held in two countries with the generous support of the Office of His Excellency, the Governor, Dr. Hans Raji Bharadwaj, as well as of emphasis at Electronic City. We could organize a traditional non-theater performance at Raj Bhavan and a sport event of long-distance relay at Infosys campus, respectively. As you recall, in the fall last year, Their Majesties, the Emperor and the Empress of Japan visited India. Our Prime Minister Shinzo Abe was the chief guest at the Republic Day Parade in January this year. You are also aware that His Excellency Prime Minister Modi will visit Japan in the very near future. I'm confident that his visit will lead to new substantial agreements with our Prime Minister Abe on various initiatives to further strengthen the relations between our two countries. Ladies and gentlemen, here in Karnataka, we have been witnessing growing strong ties with Japan as well. We have now a community of more than 1,000 Japanese nationals living and working in Karnataka, and 271 Japanese companies. I assure you that these figures will increase further in the years to come. To help these companies, as well as aspirant ones, which are interested in investment in Karnataka, we have a very good framework of dialogue. It's called the Dialogue Monitoring Committee between the government of Karnataka and the Japanese Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Bangalore. The chair is Mr. Mukherjee, Chief Secretary to the government of Karnataka. I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere appreciation and gratitude to the government of Karnataka, including Mr. Baligar. He is a member of the committee, for their support to Japanese companies. Furthermore, I would like to inform you that Japanese government through JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency, has been assisting huge infrastructure projects in this region through its yen loan. For example, 3,800 crores to the Bangalore Metro Project Phase 1 by BMRCL and 5,900 crores to the Bangalore Water and Sewage Project by BWSSB. JICA has been also working on the development of an intelligent transportation system in Bangalore and Mysore. Now I'd like to touch upon the topic of today, Chennai-Bangalore-Chitradurga Industrial Corridor, so-called CBIC project. We listened to the presentation, very detailed presentation by Mr. Chatterjee, and we will listen to the presentation of Mr. Baliga. So I will speak very briefly. Under CBIC study, a long-term comprehensive perspective plan of this region will be developed, covering over 20 years till 2033. Its main objective is to establish in 3 southern states of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Andhra Pradesh a globally competitive manufacturing hub. That hub must promote sustainable development in this region, and the corridor aims at GDP growth rate around 12%. The target area spans around 560 kilometers, and the project covers crucial infrastructure sectors such as roads, railway, ports, energy, and water supply, as Mr. Chatterjee mentioned. This is in order to have better investment and business environment in this region. In total, infrastructure investment of USD 174 million is required over 20 years. Ultimately, the corridor should emerge as a leading economic hub of India, providing connectivity with ASEAN and other regions. Last month, 3 industrial nodes of CBIC were finally confirmed by 3 states, as well as by the DIPP of the Indian Ministry of Commerce and Industry, namely Krishnapatnam of Andhra Pradesh, Ponneri of Tamil Nadu, and Tumkur of Karnataka. The work should start now to prepare the concept master plan and the development plan for these 3 industrial nodes under JICA assistance. That is to be finished by the end of this fiscal year. I have to add that the short-term project under the CBIC, the Bangalore Peripheral Ring Road project, is one of the candidate projects for JICA loan. JICA has dispatched some Japanese experts to formulate a project, and the Bangalore Development Authority is finalizing the detailed project report soon. Ladies and gentlemen, by utilizing the dynamism and the potentials of Karnataka as well as Bangalore, the CBIC project will be a new symbol of collaboration between India and Japan. India and Japan are now leading economies and democracies in Asia with ancient cultural and historic common background. I'm very pleased that my government and Japanese business leaders will be able to work together with prominent business leaders and the government of Karnataka, not only towards the successful achievement of the CBIC project, but also towards stronger ties between our 2 countries. I wish BCIC all the best, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Yamamoto-san. Thank you for your inspiring words and also briefly mentioning about the Indo-Japan cooperation, more particularly in this corridor. May I now have the pleasure of inviting Mr. Ian Felton, Deputy High Commissioner, British Deputy High Commission, to address the gathering. Mr. Ian Felton.
Okay, good morning, everybody. First of all, let me thank the President, Mr. Harish, Mr. Chatterjee, respects to my diplomatic colleague, Mr. Yamamoto, Mr. Baliga, Mr. Chandramouli, and Mr. Sampat. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, members of the BCIC. Well, first of all, let me thank you for this opportunity to speak to you at such an important and exciting time for this great country. India, the world's largest democracy, has just risen to one of the greatest challenges any democracy can face. And you've seen from my CV that I've traveled to a few countries that have perhaps not achieved that. The peaceful and orderly transfer of power in accordance with the democratically expressed will of its people is the outcome of the election. It was conducted freely and fairly and delivered a clear and decisive result. So the result is that there is a new government that has a strong mandate to pursue and deliver economic growth that India is demanding. States play a critical role in achieving that agenda too. So the subject for today, the corridors, Chennai, Bangalore, Mumbai, is a good example of how states will work with the centre to achieve India's ambition of growth. So congratulations to BCIC for choosing a good topic for today. Greg Barker, who some of you may know is a British minister who's visited Bangalore and India many times, said earlier this week at the International Festival of Business in Liverpool that the next major opportunity for growth comes under the Bangalore-Mumbai Economic Corridor, of which a feasibility study is currently underway. He said it offers a real opportunity for India and the UK to build on a partnership and strengthen that partnership in the 21st century. So we in the UK want to be a key partner for India. My Prime Minister, David Cameron, has invited Mr. Modi to London and looks forward to building a deeper relationship